Hi there. My name is Ann Mostue. I'm a reporter here at WGBH. We are 3 weeks away from Boston's preliminary mayoral election. There are 12 candidates. After September 24th, there'll be 2. We're going to do this weekly web series to talk about the race, and joining me is Peter Kadzis, a contributor here, and David Bernstein, also a contributor and at Boston Magazine. Mm-hmm. The word innovation has been thrown around a lot this week among the candidates. It's a word we hear a lot. It's a word that voters seem to like to hear, but do you think it's losing its meaning?
Well, I look at it as, I think the way the candidates are using it is it's the 21st century version of the urban mechanic. I think it shows, it's their way of trying to communicate to the voters that they realize that municipal government is a service business, about delivering services to the voters.
And there's a lot of candidates out there who are trying to get attention. As you mentioned, 12 candidates trying to get to 2 spots just less than 3 weeks from now. So they're all trying to get the voters' attention with their whatever they're doing. Some of them have more money to do that than others. So some need to do it through policy proposals with good buzzwords that will get some attention. So that might be part of it too.
Yeah. What about the effort to distinguish themselves as younger than Menino or the fresher perspective? Do you think that's one of the reasons they're using the word?
I think that's a lot to do with it. I think that people, the voters generally like Tom Menino, like what he's done with the city, but want some fresh blood, fresh ideas. They see him as sort of the last great 20th century mayor, and innovation and little innovative ideas like Rob Consalvo has, Mike Ross has. It's sort of a way of saying, I'm not going to make huge major changes to the overall way that we run the city, but I'm going to bring some new fresh ways of doing things that the old guy maybe didn't think of.
Yeah, I think in a way the most, it's a way to suggest we can do better without being critical of the current administration. I think John Conley, when he stood in front of the Apple store and talked about, a higher level of service to the city, sort of embodied that. Not sort of, very much embodied that sense. I think Mike Ross, when he talks about collaborating with the city of Cambridge to bring business to the region, is really striking new ground. I mean, he's in effect saying, look, there's more to economic development than property taxes. So there's some substance behind this flashy fluff.
Yeah.
And you've got Bill Walczak, for instance, who's trying to be another sort of big thinker, big ideas. He talks about the innovation district for East Boston instead of a casino, and similar things for Allston Brighton that he's talked about. Again, trying to get some attention of being an ideas guy. And of course, you've got Rob Consalvo, who I mentioned, who has always been this way. My first time meeting him in person, he sort of pulled me in to tell me all about his great new plan to rid the streets of stray shopping carts. He's sort of that kind of like little ways of making urban mechanic stuff. So he's out there with all these sort of ideas. Oh, I want to do this, not big picture changes. But like we were saying,
I mean, there's 3 people in particular. Consalvo with his illuminated crosswalks, which is a great idea. Although in Boston, the motorists would just use it. It's an easier way to hit the pedestrians.
That's true.
But in the rubber sidewalks,
right,
which is
rubber sidewalks.
A really terrific idea. So that's in the practical level. You have Conley with his apple metaphor is a little more esoteric, but I think people get it. I mean, anyone who's been in that store knows the service is supreme. I mean, I don't know what the workers at City Hall would make of that idea. I think Ross is the sort of new Boston candidate, and his innovation is tied up with high tech and things like that. Mm-hmm. Those 3 give you a flavor of what it's all about, I think.
Yeah. There seems to be this effort to talk about different parts of Boston as being innovation districts, as well as Kendall Square and Cambridge. But I can't imagine any neighborhood would say that they don't want some new high-tech companies, right?
Well, I think it's partly that, but it's not necessarily the high-tech companies. It's maybe high-tech at City Hall, or bringing a high-tech services so that people can, City Hall here in Boston is pretty old school in a lot of ways, and a lot of things have not been updated. So there's a lot that can be talked about, but also we shouldn't forget that some of the candidates are talking in much bigger picture. Felix Arroyo and Charlotte Golar-Ritchie unveiled at the beginning of the week big jobs plans. That they would apply the innovation term to, in terms of how to bring money for more development and spur better economic opportunities, both business opportunities, but also raising up the poorer people. So I think that different candidates are going to interpret the word. Like you said, the word can mean whatever you want to apply it to.
Right.
And if you look at the race that's going on in New York City for mayor, no one wants to be associated with Bloomberg.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Boston, no one wants to offend Menino.
Right.
That's different. So the word innovation, the concepts it embody, allow all of the candidates to put forward new ideas while in no way slamming the current city,
Right.
which most people agree. There are things that can be better, but the city works reasonably well.
Yeah.
And it can also, like you were saying about the different parts of the city, you can emphasize one aspect of the meaning of innovation when you're downtown versus, out in Dorchester or somewhere else in a way that's non-threatening to the things, because, different parts of Boston, they do like most things to stay the same, in their little areas.
Right.
So innovation has its plus and minuses as a concept.
Innovation
here.
is a
Right.
great word for us in the media to pick over like we're doing now. In the neighborhoods, people are going to vote for who they like best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think with all these different plans, is there one that you're particularly excited about? I still haven't heard anyone talk about innovation in schools or innovation in public safety, but maybe that's coming up. But
Well, the schools are a whole separate subject, and it's interesting that you bring that up because the hot issue and no one can figure out how to do it, is the longer school day.
Right.
That would be innovative in Boston, and it's such an old-fashioned idea.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. Innovation, could mean, you look at upgrading the way that the fire department is put together. A lot of that may seem, pretty straightforward in some ways, or old-fashioned. Who gets to belong to the same union, as their supervisors, or which seldom used firehouses might get closed, or those kinds of things. But around Boston, those are the kinds of innovations that may take 20 years to put into place.
Yeah, innovation is a habit of mind, I think. I think that's what all the candidates are trying to say. It's a fresh way of approaching things. Some are, I think Mike Ross, for example, is very Star Wars about it. Consalvo's very nitty-gritty about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conley's somewhere in the middle about it. But to me, it's a metaphor.
It's
really
how they're
a
trying to
metaphor.
present themselves to voters. What kind of personality they're going to bring to running the city and then to City Hall.
yeah. All right, well, I'm sure we'll keep hearing the word innovation.
A lot.
Thanks for watching. Please continue to tune in weekly for our Scrum mayoral chats. The preliminary mayoral election is September 24th.